It's pretty consistent. Wake up in the morning around 9:30, drag the players out of bed, get them to go do some form of physical activity, like say we're going to go for running, we're going to go to the gym, we're going to play soccer, basketball, whatever that might be. We get back to the house, make sure the guys are fed, they're showered, they're ready to go. We have a morning meeting at 11:30. We scrim in blocks, so from 12 until 3, first block, break from 4 to 5, and then break from 3 to 4, then 4 to 7 is our second scrim block. And then the evening time is like free time. But when you're a professional league player, there's technically no free time. You kind of just play solo queue and you do your own training, and before you know it, it's midnight and you have to go to bed. So that's pretty much it. It's kind of like part coach, part mom, part prison warden. So back in college, I did my undergrad, then I did a postgrad, and all this while I'm trying to get into, let's say, traditional sports, rugby, soccer, athletics, that sort of thing. And my friend kept on telling me, there's this game called StarCraft. It's pretty good. You might enjoy it. And I was like, forget about it. We don't need it. It's fine. About a year passes. He eventually blackmails me into downloading it. I download it, I play it, and then I get super hooked in it. It's the best game I've ever played, and probably the best game I ever will play. And I start watching MLG when it gets really big, and StarCraft is huge, and Dota is really big as well. And I discover like this eSports scene where people like professionally get paid to play and compete at a high level. And then I started just kind of inquiring and kind of going, okay, I'll send a feeler out to this team and see if they need my help. So at that point, I had a master's in sport and exercise psychology. So I reached out to Team Liquid. I spoke to their manager, Robin, who put me in contact with their owner, Victor, and then he put me in contact with some of the StarCraft pros. And I started working with those guys online, and it was like really enjoyable, really fun, because this space that they're working in, no one is there helping them. It's an individual sport, but at the same time in esports, all the coaches are former players. They don't have a background necessarily in, let's say, health and fitness or psychology or something, but they have so much game knowledge. So I started working my way into that, and eventually found myself in a situation where Noah and Dylan for Immortals were like, we need like a performance coach, a life coach, something like that. And then they're like, do you want to come over to Los Angeles? And I was like, yes, I do. And I've been there 18 months since then. We've all seen Breaking Point. We know what it was like. We all tried to think about what the environment was for him there. So if he was bumping heads with people, why was he bumping heads? Who was he bumping heads with, and what were they over? So when he came over, I think it's less about what I did and more about a case of what the whole organization did from a cultural point of view. We gave him an environment where there's nobody going to be fighting with him. We're not fighting with Josh over strategy, over how he should be living his life. We're trying to help him as much as we can. And hopefully he realizes that we're there to help him become a better player in person. So he definitely fought a lot less, from what I've been told, from when he was on Liquid to now. We're in a situation where all his teammates are very understanding of him. And it's pretty much a double-edged sword. When Josh does well, the team does well. When Josh does poorly, the team does poorly. And I think that's a lot of MVP awards. I think it's 12. It's maybe 1 or 2 more than Impact, which shows that he can carry a game. He can do well.
Absolutely.
And I think it's an ongoing thing. It's not a case of we're ever going to say, or Josh is going to say, yeah, I'm perfect now. I'm fixed. Like, I've got over my emotional issues. It's a case of I'm going to work on it every single day, try to get better at it. I'll relapse, but you know, at a certain point, he has to take ownership of what he's doing, and we have to be able to say we did everything we could. So then both parties can actually, you know, sleep a little bit better at night. I think in the first season we got pretty lucky with Hooney and Rainover in that they were probably the free agents who were most sought after, and we managed to pick them up. And then we had a team that was a perfect combination of like experience and maturity and skill, because skill players want to play with people that are like really good at the game. So we kind of lucked out with that, and we synergized perfectly. I remember them coming off the plane, and we played our first scrim block, and I was like, what can we do with these guys? They're playing so well from the get-go, but it was like a slow improvement over time. I think with the other VC teams coming in, you can get unlucky with, let's say, having one person on your team or having 2 people that maybe are there to just play, but not really there to win. And I think you could say mismanagement, you could say something else, but I think mostly the teams that will be here the longest will be teams that are a little bit more stubborn about sticking to, let's say, core values. Like, say, if you have an identity of a team or a culture around a team, you'll probably last longer. Because if you have something strong like that, you're not going to go back. You're not going to change how you do your business or how you like operate with players and other staff members and coaches. So I think that we have a pretty good vision as to who we are as an org, what we prioritize, and that kind of sets the paving for what we're going to do further down the road, you know, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now. I think from the first year, winning seemed to come easy. So you'd kind of be expected to win. Yeah, it was pretty easy. But then playoffs didn't, and that's besides the point. It's mostly around, I didn't really get to enjoy the first year as much because it was almost a given that we would win. And if we didn't, it was kind of sad. But we kind of all expected to win. Everyone expected us to win. No one expected us to lose. So when you win, it's like more relief that you won than anything else, rather than being ecstatic about it. Whereas this year, like the Cloud9 series that we won, I was super happy when we won that. The players were super happy too. So I'm enjoying it a lot more. I probably have like more emotional investments in the team because I probably work longer hours this year than I did last year. But the output isn't as successful. We're not winning every single game, but it doesn't mean that we try any less. So I think at the end of the day, playoffs is kind of sad that we didn't get into it. But every time we do well, I take a lot out of it as a coach. I feel like, you know, everything we worked hard on for the week is kind of showing dividends. So that's the big difference. Is just I'm enjoying the highs a lot more, but I'm also like I'm feeling the lows a lot more. So it feels more like my team right now, even though we're not doing as well. We'll definitely be watching Worlds. Whether or not we're playing at it, it's really down to the players and how other teams do. We could have a much better season next year. We could outperform expectations. But if one or two other teams do even better, or just matches, then they have a chance of getting into. I think trying to get in through points is kind of hard because we didn't get playoffs. Trying to get in through winning summer splits is pretty hard too. A lot of good teams. So we're realistically looking at Gauntlet, unless we have a breakout season and we all click and start doing really well. So with the fact we've got players on longer contracts, I think the goal is to focus on improving slowly over time. Like, I despise the fact that after one season, after Worlds, teams usually tend to break up or lose parts, because I would love teams to stay together and work together for the second year, because I think you'll learn so much from that first year that you can carry over to the second year, kind of like what CLG do and TSM do as well. So I think having these players tied in for longer contracts is like pretty good for us as a team, because we're not just going to say, well, we're done with this year, bring on a new team 2018. We're going to move forward with what we've learned and hopefully get better because of it.